I don't know what it is with Blitz. When I was at the Indie Calling, I went 10-0 in one day on Blitz. I don't know if it's a question, but it should be asked for people, is how do you...
Hi, all, and welcome to another episode of the Win and In podcast, episode 31. I am today, yet again, still in the car, still in the mobile version. That will be back to normal next week, but it is me, Eric, your host, co-host Gabe here, and our guest of honor. You might know her as Maxferocity on Twitter. You might have seen her as Dash in some of these big events that she cosplays, but you also might know her as Rachel. How are you doing?
Doing pretty good. How about you guys?
Great.
I'm doing great. Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah. It's been a fun weekend of Fab. A lot of new. The meta is new, and we're seeing more heroes come out, and we're seeing old ones return. And it's just one of those. It's like the first weeks of a new meta is always the most exciting, I think.
Yeah, it's spicy right now, I think.
That is for sure.
It's quite spicy. Yeah. Yeah, we just had the first battle hardened battle, or the second battle hardened today. Battle hardened Chicago happening this last weekend. Icelander took it again. Rhea on Icelander yet again takes it. Very congrats to her. And yeah, it's exciting thing to see because we're seeing Icelander coming back. We're seeing, Lexi staying strong. We're seeing Dromai, and we're seeing Leviah coming up. We're seeing yet again Leviah in the top 8. So very, very exciting on this last battle harden.
Yeah, I'm excited, honestly, for the Leviah fans. They've been waiting a long time. They really deserve their time in the sunlight or the shadow, as it were.
On the money.
Right. Yeah, certainly. Yeah, it's really cool to see because she was there in the top 8 of the last battle harden in Cincinnati, and now we're seeing her in the top 8 of this battle harden as well. I'm curious to see if she's gonna play the role of Uzuri or even Dash, where you kind of expect to see one in the top 8, or if she's gonna play the role of Azalea, where we saw Azalea quite a bit in the early meta, last meta, but then kind of fade out. So I hope not the case. I do like Leviah. I think she's really cool. And as you mentioned, Leviah fans have been waiting. So I kind of figured that's got to, push her and keep her around at least for that reason alone. But yeah, we'll kind of see where she kind of goes from here.
Yeah, I
What's your
got to
thoughts,
face a
Gabe?
couple of them in both CC, sorry.
Oh, no, you got it. No,
this
you
weekend.
have
no, you're good.
experience.
You're
I
good.
don't,
No.
so let's hear it.
It was exciting to see the new build of her.
So what was
Yeah.
new about the build? Because
Yeah.
I guess I don't even know about that yet. I've been in the shadows.
Oh,
The
yeah.
opposite.
I think a lot of people, at least the ones that I faced, were all really trying for that Leviah redeemed build, really just getting her out there. Now, I will say that I did beat all of my Leviah opponents with Dash. Spoiler. But, honestly, she put up such a fight. It did not feel like the old Leviah. It definitely felt threatening. I was sweating. Nothing. Not that there's anything wrong with the old Leviah. If my friend John is watching, or Ethan, or anybody, but the new one definitely applied more pressure, and I think that we're going to see more of that as the meta flushes out and people, kind of get into the stride with building her.
That's so good. That's awesome.
Yeah, definitely. She seems like she's going to get solved here, if not already. I think the more practice she gets, I think we're going to see more and more of a streamlined deck coming through. So I'm curious on that. What hero were you playing? I think I know, but I just want to clarify. What hero were you playing on this in this battle art?
Yeah, I play Dash in both CC and Blitz. I have been known to pick up a different deck for funsies every once in a while, but she's my old standard. I'm always on at these big events.
Definitely. So playing Dash, you got to play a few Leviathan. So in that matchup, because that is a new matchup that I haven't even experienced yet. So I'm kind of curious, what does the Dash take? Like, what is your approach against this Leviathan?
Yeah, so I was running a very different deck this weekend than I normally do. I obviously didn't finish top 8 in the CC event, so I do need to do some tweaking, but I was running a pretty hyper aggro build on Dash. And so for me, I was really trying to race Leviah to keep her off of getting, those 13 cards or so that she needed. off her banished pile.
I gotcha.
You know, and in all cases when I ran that hyper aggro in CC and that hyper aggro in Blitz. I was able to, you know, cut them off at the pass, so to speak, before they could get to that. But there was pressure, you know, and it's not like, you know, it was a shutout at any means. You know, it got close at points, and you know, you get nervous anytime you're dealing with a brute opponent. You know, they can just pull surprises out of nowhere.
Brutes are wild.
Yeah. So, but for me, I was trying to race her this weekend and getting a feel for her, and that felt like the way I wanted to be playing against Levia. But we'll have to see. I don't know that this deck is the one that I'm going to continue playing, at least from the CC perspective. I like my Blitz deck, but it was fun to do something a bit different with it this weekend.
Okay. So you said you went like a sort of a hyper aggressive sort of build.
Yeah.
Would this be the classic wombat dash sort of type, or what does that mean for dash? Like for people that don't play dash so much.
Yeah, so for me, the build that I was running was actually a Hanabi Blaster build. So when I flipped that gun, you know, like everybody that saw it was like, wait, what? I got like every single opponent double take, unless they had been sitting next to me in a previous round. So it definitely threw some people off, felt a little bad there, but you know, they're never expecting to see that for the most part. And I won't say it's like a top meta deck or anything like that by any means. You know, I finished 4-3 on Saturday, I think. You know, so it's kind of respectable.
At least
Yeah. So it was at least in the positive, but you know, ultimately, I think it's a super fun deck. It's one of those decks where you definitely have to have a good grasp on resource management. It's all about resource generation, running hyper drivers, you know, jump starts, crankshafts. You're trying to keep those items in play, and it definitely threw some opponents that I had. I had one opponent that actually thought I was playing the mech when I flipped over my starting equipment. And so they were kind of playing towards that the whole time until at the end they stopped and lifted up my crown that I had upside down because I had used it at some point. It got flipped over and went, and that player's name, Brody Spurlock. So that was
nice.
Poor Brody. No, but he was a good sport, and he ended up killing me 2 turns later. Big shock, you know, but it was pretty funny. Yeah. So it had a great time this weekend. Just awesome players, awesome play, and just the amount of decks that I faced that were different. Like nothing felt the same or repetitive.
Yeah, a lot of big names were out there. We got to see on stream Michael Fang out there playing. Like you mentioned, Brody Spurlock, who made the top 8 with Dromai. So it's a new deck that we're seeing, Brody pilot. And then, as mentioned before, you know, Rhea coming back with the Icelander. So a lot of respectable names out there. Was not it wasn't a give me. That's for sure. So 4-3 is definitely respectable when it's pretty hot and heavy.
Yeah, it was a very stacked event, especially Sunday was even more stacked, I think. Yeah, you know, a lot of people, like, the Sunday was the PTI event, and it was, I think it was 67 people, so we had to go 7 rounds total. It just came right over the cap, but that's fine. We love playing. You know, it just made it go a little later on a work night than we expected. But, you know, it was a tight field on Sunday. You know, a lot of fierce competitors, but all great people, obviously. And so, you know, even when I'm up against some of the best players in the world, I don't sit down feeling like, you know, oh, this is going to be a grind or anything like that. You know, it's going to be fun. You know, you're going to learn something and see some, you know, things that they pull out that you're like, wow, why didn't I think of that?
That's awesome.
Yep.
And then, so with your
that sounds like
I got questions. With your list, was there any like new cards from Dusk Till Dawn, like any generics or anything that popped in, or just still the same old stuff?
No, I wasn't running Warmongers. You know, had I done like a what do you call it, like a control build, you know, that's something that I'd probably put in for like the Azalea matchup, or there's quite a few people, like Fizz doesn't like it either. And so that's a really great utility card there that I like that came out of DTD. You know, I did like that card a lot. We actually picked up, my husband and I each picked up a play set.
Nice.
I'm not sure exactly what decks we're fitting into yet, but we felt like it's a good value card.
Good idea. Yeah,
blue
good
block
idea.
3, why not? Who doesn't love a good blue block 3?
Oh God, right.
But we picked those up. Yeah. Now, on principle alone, I refuse to pick up Meeps, and I will never put them in my deck because, as a mech player, I can't do that to a fellow mech player. I just can't.
That's fair.
So you know, you heard it here. Rachel is never going to play with me. But I will say they are adorable little buggers, like little cats.
Oh man, they're so cute.
That
on a playmat would be perfect.
Oh my God, they're adorable. Now I would get a playmat.
Oh yeah, that'd be like, someone pointed out that they were on the York.
Yeah,
card,
they're dancing.
and I just like looked at it today, and I was like, oh, no kidding. Yeah, so kind of cool to see them around. Yeah. So let's talk about, because you got 4-3 at the main event at the Battle Harden, but you did take the Super Armory, which I'm
I did.
guessing was Friday. Would that be right?
That was Saturday. It was right after the Battle Hardened, so we
Oh,
transitioned
they
over
just
to that.
so
Yeah.
you just played a whole day of
Yeah,
Flesh and Blood.
yeah, I was
All
very,
right.
very, very tired. So we ended up transitioning right into the Super Armory, and I was just sitting there like sleeving on my deck. Like I try to keep duplicates of my
Hmm.
dash cards, so I don't have to really like move them around too much. But I even had to re-sleeve some because I didn't have the doubles of like the pulse waves, and I'm like, oh man, I'm gonna have to get these in here.
Oh, great.
But went right into it, and I had a different hero opponent every single round. Just a full spread, 5 rounds, went 5-0. It was
Nice.
a great evening. I don't know what it is with Blitz. When I was at the Indie Calling, I went 10-0 in one day on Blitz. So maybe it's
Woo!
like my thing. I feel
Oh
like an
man,
idiot Blitz savant. I don't know.
nice.
Yeah, and you were playing Dash on there as well, and
Yeah.
you showed the Talishar weapon, so I'm guessing that was the weapon of choice.
Yeah, yeah. I had a sideboard with a couple other goodies in there, but in Saturday's games, I was purely on Talishar. I didn't find a real need to pull out a different weapon there. It's like you come in with Blitz and you like bring the whole kitchen sink because you can. You're like, oh,
Mm.
I'll just put anything in here. I can round out 11. But I probably won't use half of them. So yeah, Talishar
Yeah,
was
no,
the weapon.
definitely. Yeah, and that makes sense too because classically, it would have been Oldham would have been the boogeyman of Dash. Not too much else. I mean, Dash is pretty well favored in Blitz right now. One of the few heroes that can outrace a Kano.
Hmm.
So you got to respect that. But I'm kind of curious. So in Blitz, you said you saw a different hero every round, which is awesome.
Yeah.
What are the heroes you're licking your chops on? You're like, okay, this is the matchup I want. And
Oh
what's
my
the
God.
ones that you're quaking a little bit?
Yeah. Well, actually, I would say none of my Blitz matchups were a gimme. Like every opponent, every hero it was tight play. With that so few life and resource to work with, you have
Yeah,
to keep
man.
it very, very clean. I would say for me, like the one I don't want to see, I'll start there, is Reinar. When they flip Reinar, just the intimidation factor. Both from the deck itself, real life, seeing that across from you, and the fact that they intimidate your hand can really cut you off at the knees, especially if they get that turn one advantage there. But the ones I would like to see, like I said, I don't think there was a gimme, but I will say this. So first round, I faced one of my best friends, Rob, and he was on the new Prism.
Hmm.
And I'm not saying anything against the new Prism for any fans out there. I think just maybe she hasn't caught her stride yet, or people haven't quite, figured out how they want to run it. I always believe that you can crack every deck or crack every hero to an extent. And I just think maybe she's just finding her footing because at the end of the night, there was a table and it was like the last table on the row, and it was all Prisms.
Oh, wow.
Brutal.
Yeah, and I felt really bad because they were like, my friend was like zero something, I think, at that point.
Oh,
Zero
no.
four. And yeah, that she did not feel like the threat that she did before. But I have faith that the Prism stands will find a way to make her an adversarial fear for me again.
Yeah, yeah. They certainly are cooking, that's for sure. I know Pheno Black's been really grinding, trying to find a list for CC. I do wonder because Luminaris, the old Luminaris, is legal in Blitz. So I do wonder if the new Prism uses the old Luminaris. Did you see that or?
So when I faced my friend, I believe he was using, the old Luminaris, I think. Yeah.
Okay.
You know what? Honestly, I will be
Yeah.
blunt. I wasn't paying attention to the weapon because I was just too busy fending off 2 Arclight Sentinels.
Oh
I
man.
was just like, come on.
That's fair.
God,
That's fair.
I hate that card so much.
I know. That
It's like, hey,
card
that turn you're
turned
crafting? Nah,
killer.
you ain't doing that. Not today. No.
Yeah, yeah.
Brutal.
All right, and then I got another question on that. So you're writing the Talishar. Was there ever did any games come to where the Talishar was just broken by the end of that?
Where I actually used it all? No. I only got up to 2 counters on 2 games, and I want to say there was one game I may not even have touched it. Or used it at
Yeah, I
all.
kind of believe
The
that.
hands were lining up, to keep boosting. But yeah, it's I have cracked it in other matches in the past, when Oldham was around pretty substantively. But I didn't feel the need. It was too fast.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, that's kind of what I was kind of curious about. But very cool. Congratulations
Thanks.
on taking the whole thing. 5-0 and Blitz. Yeah, you seem to that might be your format. If it's Blitz calling, I'll put my money on you.
You hear that, James? Blitz calling. Rachel top champion.
Double
It's
down.
coming.
I would like some Blitz calls. I like CC, and CC is a great format, but like Blitz, we can go double the rounds if we really wanted to. I mean, those are fast games, in and out, and yeah, I don't know. I know that they had one in like New Zealand a long time ago. I like something like that. Just bring it back.
You know what I really like about Blitz too is just the variety of heroes that
Oh
you can
yeah.
run into. You don't have oftentimes as locked of a meta as you do in CC. Yes, there are ones that rise to the top. Dash right now, like I said, is quite well positioned, I think, in Blitz. But honestly, I played an Emperor the other day. I think it was round 2. And I did not expect that to get flipped over. I'm like, Emperor, okay, here we go.
Spicy.
And so that was exciting to see, spicy, right? And then, I mean, Chain's still hanging around. That was my last round opponent. Was a Chain, and that was an extremely tight game. Whenever it's Chain and Blitz, it's like right there.
Oh, I gotta imagine. I feel like if anyone's gotten the best out of the new set for Blitz, it's gotta be Chain.
Yeah, he was definitely applying the pressure. It was one of those nail biter matches where I'm like, oh God, where's this going to go? In the end, Chain kind of died how Chain usually dies, to his own
Yeah.
life loss.
Yep.
But
Yep.
sorry, Chain.
Sad day.
Well, okay. Let's transition into the CC meta now, because we have, like I said, it's a new meta. It's a growing meta. It's not quite solved yet. It is getting solved. We saw only 4 different heroes in the top 8 of this last Battle Harden, where there were 7. So it is we're starting to see, more people relying on oldies like Lexi and Dromai, and then Icelander coming back, as mentioned before.
So yeah, we just lost Eric. His phone's not working. He's not at his mobile base, as we know. He had safety first, though. Seatbelt was on, but it wasn't holding it down enough. So it's just back to me and Rachel. Eric wishes you guys the best, and we'll see you in the next episode for sure. So we're just gonna finish it off, and I think we're talking about the CC meta and kind of where it's evolving to from here. What are your thoughts? Because you've been playing probably way more than I have.
Yeah, I mean, it's early on. We're definitely feeling the loss of Oldhim here. You're seeing a lot faster, more aggressive play.
Oh yeah.
That doesn't mean there's not room or areas for mid range or control or things like that. But I definitely feel that pretty much every hero that I hit on Saturday and Sunday in CC was pretty much taking the aggressive approach, and trying to race me. Now, as I mentioned, I played a very aggressive deck. So when I flipped that over and they realized after a couple of turns what I was getting at, then they might start to pace themselves a little more. But ultimately, yeah, very aggressive field right now.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I've always been told that going into a new format, like just take aggressive and see what goes from there. The old faithful. Any wild cards that you saw when you were playing in CC? Like, did you see Vincent or anything else cooking that just took you off the bat?
Oh my God, Vincent. That was one of my worst matches for me. And maybe it's because it's my first time playing her, or playing against her, that I didn't know how to handle it well enough, but I felt it was probably one of the more lopsided matches for me. It went very quickly. This is what I can say with that mixed damage coming at you, the rune chance. I felt like she was hitting anywhere from 10 to 15, 16 pretty consistently. Maybe I'm miscounting that, but at least 10. And so that's a lot when you're dealing with mixed damage. Yeah. So at least the person I was playing against was really flexing the rune gate for sure. It didn't feel like there was an off turn where I wasn't getting hit with a decent amount of arcane. And the way that I built that deck, it really didn't have a good way to handle that aggressively. Like, for example, if I'm facing a Viserai, that's a match that I would say is pretty equal for me. I wouldn't say I'm favored or I'm not favored into it, but I'm racing him.
Totally.
And I feel pretty comfortable there managing that arcane damage. Here, it just felt like it was so aggressive, such tall hits.
They could do some crazy stuff with that rune gate.
Yeah.
Do you know if that person went on to have a good score or where they ended?
I don't know where they ended up at. I don't, but it was very interesting. I am excited to see where she goes because I feel like I haven't heard as much about her, and all the chatter
Same.
of what's been done with this meta, and people, I wonder if people are like discounting her,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe I didn't play into her right. Maybe it'll happen a little differently if I change up my deck or if I go a little more mid-range, but I'm excited to get more play into her. I'm definitely going to be hitting, Talishar online.
Awesome.
And trying to, see if I can suss out some more Vinset players to, throw myself at and hopefully not die.
Learn the hard way. No, that's awesome. Yeah. Did you have anything else spicy about your deck list or anything? Because I saw on Twitter people were like, because I saw the photo Min-Max post and everyone's like, oh, what's their deck list? Like, what's the secret? Any crazy thing that you can share?
That's the Blitz deck list.
I think so, yeah.
Asking about, yeah. So actually, that Blitz deck list is materially similar. It was based off of the old Battle Hardened Hong Kong one, I think. And I did a couple of tweaks, not to say my tweaks were any better, or anything like that, just is my personal preference. Like, for example, I dropped the overloops out of it.
Okay.
At this point, we're so aggressive that I don't feel the need for them. I'm not running out of deck here. And, I feel like something like Combustible Courier is going to give me a little more play, like a blue one, just really agitate people with like, you need to block this too. And then, I also add in another payload in there. So it's not hugely spicy because there's only so much you can do, with the Blitz deck. But it is a very fast low to the ground deck. It applies a decent amount of pressure early on. And it's one of the, the few types of play where I will often try to take the play and go first and see if I can go over the top with them at damage.
That's awesome. Yeah, Dash is so sweet. Appreciate that. Any other CC hints or tricks that you think people might enjoy? Or
I'm interested, in seeing how mid-range performs into this. I didn't give it a go this weekend, but it was a playstyle that I really enjoyed for Dash. It is something that I think could potentially be well positioned. I do need to start testing it, so don't take it for gospel, guys. I may play Dash a lot, but that doesn't mean I'm a good player.
That's fair.
I do know my Dash pretty well. As far as my aggro deck goes, I'm not saying I think it's a fun deck. I think it's a great deck to bring to an armory, really have some fun with it, really play off of, resource generation with the hyperdrivers, the crankshafts, blessing of ingenuity, that sort of thing, to keep those in play. There were some games where I was able to keep that in play for just a significant amount of time and just keep amassing counters, and it shocked me. But then there are other games where the deck it'll betray you. It is a much more variance deck. If you play mid-range Dash, you play control Dash, those are extremely consistent decks, vanilla, but consistent. But this one that I was using, this Hanabi Blaster build, was it's a bit of a wild card. It made me feel more like Rhinar in some ways, like I'm just beating them with the gun.
That's kind of fun though. You like having that spice to add like the extra.
Yeah, I don't usually play like that, and so it was just a lot of fun to see how wild the turns could get. And I think everybody had a little bit of fun.
Hey, that's good. That's all you can ask for sometimes. And then any other heroes in this meta that you're afraid of for CC, like if the ones you don't want to rise to power?
I mean, my number one is Dromai, but it has been for a very long time. I don't feel like it's a match that Dash is very favored into in almost any build. In fact, this Hanabi Blaster was, I went into this knowing that it wasn't going to be the best deck. Like, maybe that's not the competitive spirit here, but I was bringing some Dromai hate, because I'm so tired of, like, there's a ton of Dromais in the Chicago area, and I got so tired of just, grinding out a 55-minute game to just finally lose when they put out, Remembrance or something else on the deck. On the table. So for me, this deck was just trying to see how fast I could go at them, keep them off their dragons. And it's been getting me a lot closer than the old ways, but it just isn't always enough. But it does, I think, scare the Dromai players a little bit.
Hey, what were the hate cards that you brought in for them?
So for them, it's really just it's just how aggressive the deck is.
So
it's just the whole deck is kind of built around that concept of, we're gonna, you think you can block me out? No, you haven't seen this deck yet. I can go over top of whatever you're going to block.
That's so awesome. Awesome. Any other thoughts on the whole CC meta in general?
Lexi's still strong, big surprise to everybody. I do face Lexi's, and I do like racing them with this deck. I do feel a lot stronger in that position than my previous, mid-range or gun control strategy. I do think, obviously the gloves change did help, but she definitely still feels like a top rate hero, and she definitely is. I did see people really bringing out the ice builds in her this weekend, which I was kind of surprised at that, and it was annoying.
Oh man, those math games are not fun. That is for sure.
Yeah, I know. But those I was able to get over the top of. But yeah, I think she's still pretty all powerful in the game. Her and Dromai, and I think Dromai's kind of wide open right now too, without Oldham there keeping.
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
kind of under the what is it, the ice thumb.
Yeah, the icy hammer. Yeah, no, it definitely held a strong spot to make some decks now as well. But so it goes. The new metas are exciting though.
I think that's the best part, is that first week or two.
Oh yeah, just brand new.
Everything just becomes a little more solidified. You get to see a lot of random builds, a lot of really creative things.
Yeah, no, we'll have to see how Nationals goes, because that's right around the corner, a month away or something.
Oh man, yeah, I'm playing in Nationals,
awesome.
So that'll be next month. My husband and I are both qualified, so
dude, that's
we'll both
sick.
be playing. We played together last year there. I want to see if I can make day 2 again.
All right.
I try to set my goals reasonable.
I got hope. Are you gonna be on Dash, I would imagine?
Yeah.
And what's the husband gonna be playing?
That won't change. Sorry.
What's the hubby gonna be playing?
He's gonna be playing Dory.
Okay, awesome.
So Dory is his top love for the last year or so. And this is another deck I really enjoy too. It's just, I always go back to Dash, but Dory is just so fun. Throw that naked Dawnblade at him and let him think.
Oh god, that's the worst. And then so Nationals coming up.
Games.
Are you gonna be cosplaying for that as well?
Yeah, I am planning to. I probably will only cosplay on Saturday.
Okay.
I want to give myself kind of the best opportunity I can on Friday with play, and it can be hard to play in costume. I played day 2 of Nats last year as Dash because I think I didn't expect to make day 2, and the costume I made to be as comfy as I could to sit in it, but it still was hard. I'm knocking things over with the wires,
No, that's fair.
Like so yeah,
that is a whole new mind game on its own.
Yeah.
So
for sure.
We can talk about cosplay stuff now that we're there. So out of cosplaying, because how long have you been doing it for, just in general?
I've actually only been doing it since Nationals.
Oh, really?
Year. I would say more competitively.
Okay.
My whole life I loved Halloween. I love Ren fairs. And I would put together what I'll call closet costumes or closet cosplays. Go to the thrift store, make something that kind of looks like the character, or make my own thing. But this whole level of, picking up and carving foam, making armor, things like that just started with Dash last fall. So this is very quickly skyrocketed.
That is so
my
cool.
number one love in my life.
Oh, man. So if say someone's a brand new beginner, they want to learn cosplaying, they're either know a little bit or they know completely nothing. Where's a good starting point for them, do you think?
I think honestly, so your first starting point should be to find something you're extremely passionate about, because there are going to be those times when you're working on something and you want to swear and throw it and be like, I'm done. This is not working. I just miscut this the 3rd time. And this is going to happen. First of all, find something you're passionate about, whether that's a hero, a card, what have you. For me, it was Dash. I just decided, I didn't decide, hey, I want to become a cosplayer. I just decided I really love Dash and I want to try and make this.
Oh, that's so cool.
Why not? But from there, it became, just a whole thing where I'm going to continue doing it. So that would be my first step. The other thing is just learn from the established cosplayers out there. The way that I learn, at least for me, is by watching somebody do something. And so there's awesome cosplayers out there. I'll shout out Kamui Cosplay is pretty well known in the cosplay community. And she does a ton of YouTube videos on everything from beginner all the way up to, some master's classes on different things.
Awesome.
And so she's a good place to start if you're trying to learn something.
No, that's great information. And then, so for when you cosplay, so even say your first Dash costume that you really put your time into, how long did that take to make?
I get those questions a lot, and it's really hard to distill into hours because I'm not good at tracking hours, but I can say timeline wise. So Dash, the original one, I actually started in the spring before Nationals, but my dog passed away, and so she was sick before that. I had to put it down. After she passed, I really jumped into it because it was kind of a way to process my grief almost.
Totally.
It's like therapy, to dive into that. And so I would say that I probably spent about 4 to 6 weeks, probably closer to 6, working on that costume because it was my first time and it took
just learning the ropes, man. Just watching all the videos, cutting all the things.
But yeah, it was a lot of heavy work. So I mean, pretty decent amount of hours per week.
Oh, I can imagine. And it's does it cost a lot to build all these costumes, or
It's so varied, and I always say this when I get this question because I do get it a lot.
Sorry if I'm just asking all the questions.
No, I think it's a great question because I see a lot of people shy away from it because they're like, "Oh, I don't have the money, I don't have the time." First of all, if you don't have the time, pick at it. If it takes you a year to make a costume, so what?
Oh yeah,
you've made it for yourself. Don't make it for anybody else.
Exactly.
But yourself. But as far as cost goes, you can do some incredible things at low budget cost. In fact, on the Fab TCG website. There is a series called Cosplay Corner of articles. If you just search Cosplay Corner, I wrote one of them about something I did last year with Dash, But there's another one, I don't want to misquote. I think it was maybe the Ira cosplayer. It could have been somebody else. We talked about cosplaying on a budget.
Cool.
And so the biggest thing and the biggest tip I can get is be a pack rat. Like all the little doodads and odds and ends, you're like, oh, should I do this? I got a hose for something. You will find uses for it in your cosplay. So there are ways to cut down on costs. There's a lot of budget videos out there for something like Dash. When you're using stuff like, and I've got it right next to me, like a roll of foam. This is one of the more moderate cost materials, but you have to buy that new, and that can get expensive. So like Dash is probably a few $100s in supplies and tools, but that's at upfront cost. Like you don't own these tools yet. Now you got to get them, but over time you don't have to rebuy them. So like something like the Mac, that I did at PT3 Baltimore, that was a lot more expensive. I'm not going to lie about what it cost. Probably close to $1,000.
No, it was huge. Supplies. It was awesome.
It's a lot of supplies. So, but don't let that scare anybody away. When I say throw these figures out here, you can spend $25 and make a cool costume.
Oh yeah.
You just got to get creative with your materials.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
And then, so when I guess you're making Dash cosplays, doing all this. So you already talked about that one YouTuber that you follow. Who are your other like inspiration sources? Like what makes your stars twinkle,
So the thing that I like most of my cosplay, so, some people have specialties, like this is my thing. And I think my hallmark will probably over time become that I love special effects, lighting kits, electronics.
Oh, yeah.
And it's what really drew me with Mac, doing the steam machines
so crazy.
And that and doing...
I didn't even believe it the first time someone told me, like, yeah, her gun smokes. I'm like, no way. And I walked over there. I was like, that's so cool.
Yeah, my inspiration is trying to bring the carts to life. For me, I'm not satisfied just, the costume looks like the costume. I want to bring some sort of effect where when you walk up, you're like, whoa, wait, it does that. And I'd love for that to continue to be a hallmark of mine that, I do with every costume. I find some way to do something goofy within it, that people would not expect, like the spinning saw blade on the Mac.
That is so cool. So, I guess out of all your cosplays so far, what's been your favorite? Probably a hard one.
I'm gonna have to say the Mac, because I've only really done Dash 1.0, 1.5 when I rebuilt it for Worlds, and then I've done the Mac, and I'm working on one right now, but I'm not gonna.
No, you should. That's gonna be. Are we seeing it? Which tournament do you think we'll see that one?
Nationals.
Oh man, that's exciting.
Nationals. Yeah, so it is mechanologist related.
Cool.
But I would say the Mac, and because it did something that I didn't think I could do at my skill level. When I was looking around, people and talking in cosplay communities and such, they're like, start easier. You've only done one costume. There's no way you could do a giant costume like that. That's like top level, difficulty. And I said, no, I think with enough time, enough research, and,
hold my beer.
Perseverance,
right?
Patience, I can do it. And so I'm just super proud of that. Actually, James walked up to me at PT3. And I was so in awe in that moment, also really, really tired, that I don't think I quite heard the comment right. But one of my friends claims that he said, you bring the cards to life.
Oh, man, that's I was so cool.
Whoa, to hear that is incredible.
Oh, yeah.
It's a huge compliment. And so I love that one, because I think just standing there and having people just go, what is that? Oh, my God, is just the coolest feeling.
Oh, I love that. So, I guess the other thought about, because, the mech was a huge costume. What's your transportation look like for that? That just sounds like a nightmare.
Yeah. So the mech, I'd love to bring it to every event, cannot be easily just brought on a plane. The transportation for that, this is why it was a labor of love, because people, I think, and my friends all thought I had gone insane. They're like, you're going to build a costume and drive 12 hours each way when you can take a 2-hour flight.
Oh, man.
To get this there. So, I got my friend Levi to drive with me. He was a saint for agreeing to it. So I wouldn't be alone, instead of just getting on the easy, cheap flight.
Hey.
And we drove there 12 hours there, 12 hours back, with these 3 giant bins that took up the entire back of my my pretty big SUV.
Worth it. So worth it.
Yeah.
The cost of it. Yeah, that's so cool. And then, so do you have so you had infinite time, infinite budget, anything to your disposal? Do you have any crazy creations in your head you want to do, or is that still secretive in the woodworks we can never know about until it happens?
I've got quite a few in my little secret cosplay book that I want to do, and I'll probably never get to them all. I'd love to do another large size costume, just because, hey, I have the stilts now. Even though I know it's a little obnoxious, so I don't want to get kicked out of these events if I start bringing too many large costumes. And get out of here, Rachel. But
that's fair.
You know, I would love to do one of like the big armored suits or like the Guardians or
That
something,
would be
because I think it
cool.
would be really unexpected for, you know, like I'm 5'5",
Yeah.
you know, so for a little 5'5" girl to be, you know, walking around with giant horns,
Oh
like,
man,
you
that
know,
would be
helmet and
wild.
stuff. I
That
think
would
that'd be
be
super fun.
eye-catching for sure.
Yeah, yeah. I've told a couple people about that, and they're like, "No way, that would be so funny." You take that off, and there's this just tiny head.
They just, hi guys. Oh.
Stop.
Oh man. Is there any other like cosplayer like questions that I've missed so far that you like common question people ask you?
Oh, common questions. You know, I don't know if it's a question, but it should be asked for people, is how do you make cosplay more comfortable? It's one of the more
Totally
practical ones. And I want to put this out there for anybody that's like not really either A, hasn't cosplayed yet, or B, maybe you're a cosplayer that goes to other cons, but you're not used to playing a game in cosplay.
Yeah.
You know, really test drive your build and think almost like an engineer, you know, as you're going through and drawing this out or sketching what you want to do, because a lot of times you don't realize until you go to sit down for your first match, oh wait, that doesn't bend that way, you know, and you rip it or you poke yourself with something, and that's really critical. I ran back and forth at San Jose 3 times because I sliced the wires on my hip.
Oh really?
For dash, like I kept severing them in the way I was sitting, and I was like, oof, because I had just redone all those wires, and so I'm just running back and forth in the rain. You know?
Yeah, that's brutal. And that, yeah, I didn't even think about that. I could get really uncomfortable, and then you might not be playing as well because you're just distracted.
Yeah. The other tip I would give too, just in general, would be, you know, what's in your arsenal. So I'm actually like working on a little bit of a channel right now that's just going to have some like tips and tricks for cosplay and
that's
some
so good.
how-tos. I think it'd be kind of fun for beginners, because I'm not a pro. You know, I'm a novice, and I want to give videos for novices from a novice. And you know, what's in your arsenal? You need to be bringing an emergency kit. You know, Definitely. You need to be bringing the glues that you need, and you need to have them on you so you aren't running back and forth to the hotel. And you would not believe just the amount of other cosplayers I run into that, just like me, forget something, and so we have to support each other, and we should.
Oh, that's fun! Little community event, yeah.
Yeah. So try and be that hero. You know, try and have like the kit on you and be that medic for other
so
cosplayers,
cool.
because they will really appreciate it.
Oh yeah. So I mean, I think you're more than a novice. You won events, like. So what's your like? I mean, you might, in your opinion, be a novice, but I think you're awesome at all the cosplay. What are your like? What events have you like done well at, or won, or like? Because I'm pretty sure, did you win with that mechanology suit, or close to it?
Yeah. So when I did Worlds last year, I took second with Dash, with the original Dash, and then at PT3 Baltimore, I won. So I was the overall.
That's so awesome.
First place.
So you can say you're a pro. You don't have to, but you can say it.
Yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't say pro, but yeah, close enough. Close enough.
You're doing well.
I don't know what's in between novice and pro, but you know, I intermediate. But yeah, you know, I think time on, I'm novice, or you know,
totally.
Really early on in my journey. But yeah, I do feel like I do have the skill now to tackle some of the stuff that I thought was impossible a year ago.
That's so good. That's so awesome. And then, any other thoughts or questions or things you want to tell the world about the cosplaying journey, or just about yourself?
Yeah, you know, I would just say, if for those of you out there who, you know, aren't cosplaying or don't plan to cosplay, you know, really support your cosplay buds out there. You know, go up and talk to them, ask them about their costume, you know, take a picture with them, because we love it. I know I run into people all the time who will say, oh, I was too shy, or, you know, I didn't want to bother you. Yeah. Like, no, that's what we're here for. We want you to come up and chat with us and ask us how we did something, or ask for tips and tricks. We really enjoy that. And, you know, just be there and cheer them on at the contest. You know, I know it's a long day after, like, you know, a day 2 or a calling when these contests occur, but we love having everybody out there. It really pumps us up, you know, really being able to put on a show and share the love of Wraith with everybody.
That's so
else.
Good. That is so good. That's a great question, because I've thought the same thing before. It's like, oh, they're busy. I don't want to be that kid, but yeah.
No. You know, the only time I would say just be careful with that is 2 times. One, if we're at a table actually actively in a match.
That's fair.
And then, you know, because you probably don't want to interrupt that. But the other one would be, you know, if we look like we're racing like for the bathroom, or we have a sandwich shoved in our mouth and our wig is off, like that's probably not the time. But other than that,
yeah,
you know,
just
come up to
use
us.
logic and it'll work out.
Yeah, exactly.
And so where can we find all your socials at? Because I know it's Maxferocity on Twitter, but do you have anything else you want to just tell the world where they can find you?
Yeah. So Twitter is my primary right now. I'm working on trying to get Instagram set up a little bit so I can kind of have dual share, but it'll probably be kind of duplicative material between the two. I am, like I said, I'm working very slowly. It's not up yet, but I'm working on a small YouTube channel. Nothing big. It's not a podcast. It's just going to be and maybe some small instructions and stuff, but it's going to be called Pour the Mold.
Oh, I love that. That's a good name.
So yeah. And so we'll do, you know, I at the very least, what I want to do with it is just be able to share some of my journey and what I'm making. You know, it might just be me just sitting down for 5 minutes and saying, hey, I'm doing this today on X costume. Let me show you, you know,
that sounds awesome.
What it is. And so that's, you know, something I'd love to share with people.
No, I dig that. Yeah, we'll have all that linked below. Probably not the YouTube because that's not out yet, but you guys will find it from the Twitter for sure. Well, I think we're wrapping up here unless you have any other words of wisdom or things that I missed, because usually I'm not the one doing the hosting. Usually I just sit back, relax, and smile and giggle when I can.
You know, I just thank you for having me on.
Oh, yeah.
I love sharing my love of, you know, flesh and blood and cosplay. I'm an all around, you know, player, cosplayer, and I love both aspects of it. If you see me out at an event, please do come up whether I'm in costume or not and say hi. I love meeting people. And honestly, I am naturally, it might not seem this way on a video like this because I've practiced in the last year, but I am an extremely shy person most of the time. And so I might not walk up to you, but if you walk up to me, you know, when I'm out of character and I don't have that dash confidence just yet, you know, I am so happy to talk to you. So please say hi.
Awesome. Yeah, no, that's perfect. Thank you so much for coming on. Sorry it was a little chaotic more than usual, but
no worries,
patience
no
is beautiful
Keeps
and we
it fresh.
appreciate it. Exactly. As you guys all know, Eric did not make it for the end of this. We will miss Eric, but we'll see him in the next one. Next week, we will have Kiki Shadows Alone on, so stay tuned for that. It's going to be super exciting. Other than that, thank you guys for watching. Thank you for coming on and joining us, Rachel. It was a pleasure. And
bye, guys.
Signing off here.